Hi everybody, I'm a grateful recovering addict and my name is Tito. And I'm clean by God's grace in the program of Narcotics Anonymous. And for that I am truly grateful. Right? Like, you know how you feel just before you're going to use a bag of dope? Yeah, you know how, Joe, you know how your stomach start turning? And you got to go to the bathroom? And I'm standing in the back because it's cold in here, right? And all of a sudden, like the time is coming and my stomach start turning. And I know through some experience that ain't because I want to use a bag of dope. I know what it is. It's because God is going to get ready to do some stuff in here tonight. See, I'm real grateful to the 36 for the invitation, for allowing me to come all the way from Connecticut, not only to share in your recovery, but giving me another chance and opportunity to participate in my own recovery. So, I haven't been around for a little while. I don't know what that means. I don't have a couple of coffees under my belt. I don't know what that means neither. Right? I have 33 years clean and 4 months. And I don't tell you my clean time for the applause. I tell you my clean time because there might be somebody in here right now that don't think recovery is possible. I just want to let you know that if a Puerto Rican from the South Bronx can get clean, you can do it too. And you hear a lot of stuff in Narcotics Anonymous about we don't want to hear your war story. I'm like, good Lord of mercy. I didn't get here because I was looking for a girlfriend. I wasn't looking for friends. I got here in order of desperation. There was nowhere else to go. You know it's bad when the police don't even want to arrest you. So I'm going to share with you where I come from. This way you can know where I'm going in Narcotics Anonymous. Right? What it has done for me. Right? The change, the transformation that has taken place in my life. Right? From that addict that was smoking crack and shooting dope, being kicked out of the house, sleeping in the backseat of cars, digging in garbage cans, sleeping on the bridges. Right? I'm going to share with you. I started using drugs at the age of 8 years old. I had my first bag of dope at 8 years old. I am a miracle. I'm a miracle because everybody that I got high with are not around anymore. I used with my brother. My brother died in my arms. Just before I got the opportunity to come to Narcotics Anonymous. And I would say, God, why didn't you take me? He had a baby boy. He had a good job. He had a good life. I was what you call the black sheep of the family. The one that always got in trouble. The one that always went to jail. The one that always did what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it. See? So I'm so grateful to this program. And I used and I used and I used. And I thought I was having a good time. But I didn't know nothing about the disease of addiction. You know how it is when you first start getting high, you start using drugs, it's all fun because you're using once in a while. Sometimes it's on the weekends. You put on your suit, you go to the club, you get high, you come home, you good. You don't use maybe for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's fun. The drugs give you that false courage, right? Like I don't know, maybe I was the only one that I would start using in the club, and I have the courage to talk to the ladies. I felt like I was Casanova. But I didn't know it was false courage. And I kept going and using. One day became 2 days. Now I'm using on Mondays and Tuesdays. Then I'm using on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Then I'm using on Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And then having all these good jobs. You know what it is when you get paid on Thursday, go to work on Friday, and ask somebody to borrow $5 because you broke. And I work for this good company. And I used to call out, like we get paid on Thursday, Wednesday you're going to use. I worked hard all week, I'm going to have one. Not knowing that one was too many and 1,000 was never enough. And I would call in on Friday that I couldn't come to work because my uncle passed away. 2 weeks go by, I call in on Friday. Again, I can't come to work. My aunt passed away. And it went like that for a while. Until one day, I come to work and they call me into the office. And you know how the disease is, right? Like I'm the best worker they got. I walked in there with my chest puffed out, like, yeah, they're going to give me a raise or promote me and all that, right? And I walked in with that cocky attitude, and they said, have a seat. And I said, yeah. Tito, we just want to ask you something. And I'm like, yeah, what's going on? We just want to know if you got any more family members left. And then they proceeded to walk me out of the building. See? And on that walk, I was still, well, do they know who I am? How dare them fire me? See? But it was a routine pattern. See? In my active addiction, I didn't get to, like I didn't raise my kids. I didn't change Pampers. I didn't see my kids take their first steps. I didn't hear them say, Daddy. The drugs robbed me. It took all that away from me. I remember my wife gave me $5 to go to the bodega on the corner to get a gallon of milk for my daughter, and I come back 3 weeks later without the milk because I had to use. You see. At the end of the road, you know how those young kids walk around with their pants saggy down there, showing their underwears and all that stuff? They think they invented that. They got no clue that us addicts did. Like I was weighing 96 pounds when I hit rock bottom. I used to have to wear one of them extra long belts to wrap it around me twice just to hold my pants up. See? I remember those times like it was yesterday. Yeah, have a seat. Hey. So I'm grateful to Narcotics Anonymous. At the end of my road, there was nowhere else to go. I got put into a facility, H&I, so grateful to H&I, right? They came in, they carried a message. There was a whole bunch, I was in a facility with a whole bunch of men. And where I come from, you don't tell your business. You don't let them see you sweat, you don't cry, none of that stuff. H&I came in, and I'm in the back. You know how there's always like 5 of yous that are in denial? That you in the back of the room talking about everybody else in the front. That was me in the back, and I was talking about everybody in the front. Oh, how could they tell on themselves? How could they tell their business and all that stuff? And we're talking while the guy is sharing his story, and I wish I can tell you what happened. I have no clue. All I know that my mouth said like this, and my ears said like this, and I started walking from the back to the front. By the time that guy finished sharing his story, I was sitting in the front chair crying. He walked up to me after the meeting and he said, "You all right?" And I said, "No." I said, "You just told my story." And he said to me, "I suggest that when you leave this facility, that you make a Narcotics Anonymous meeting." And I said, "Well, what's Narcotics Anonymous?" He gave me a meeting schedule. He gave me the 1-800 number. He said, "Listen, I suggest strongly that you call this number. Somebody will pick it up. They'll come get you and take you to a meeting. I don't suggest that you go back and see Flacco and Paco on the corner." And when I left the facility, I got off the train and I'm going home. And that, you know that feeling you're going to get when you're going to use? I got that feeling that I just knew it. See, I live in a drug-infested area. And when I come around the corner, I see the drug dealer standing on the corner. Oh, my stomach's really turning now because I know I'm going to use. Right? But when God got plans for your life, when God got plans for you, I got halfway up the block and I knew I was going to use. And at that very moment, my wife comes around the corner. She said, "Hi. They called me and told me you got out." And I didn't use. I didn't know it, that it was a higher power that was intervening in my life at that moment. I didn't use, and I went home and I called the 1-800 number, and a person came to pick me up. And he took me to my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And there was a gentleman standing at the door, right, when I walked in. And he said, "Welcome. We've been waiting for you." And I looked at him like I said, "You ain't been waiting for me. You don't even know me." He said, "Come on. Have a seat." And he proceeded to walk me to the ICU, the intensive care unit, up in the front. He sat me down. He said, "You want any coffee? You want any donuts? You want any cookies?" And I looked at him. I said, "Yeah." And in my mind, I said, "Oh, they want something." I don't know where you come from, but where I come from, ain't nobody was giving me anything. I was being kicked out of drug spots. So he got me cookies and all that stuff, right? And I told him my name, and the place erupted. They started screaming, "Keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back." And I was like, wow. You see? And I heard the stories of you people. I'm sitting there, and you guys like you guys are looking good, smelling good. You guys are wearing matching socks and all that stuff, right? And I'm like, nah, it can't be. It can't be. These guys can't be clean. Not if you got high the way I got high. It's impossible. No? They would get up. They would go to the coffee pot. Some would go to the bathroom. I got up and I went to the bathroom. And I followed them because I knew they were getting high because I got high in the bathroom. And I couldn't find nobody. Nobody using. And I kept coming back. And I kept coming back. And I noticed I went from having like 5 days clean to having 15 days clean, to having 20 days clean, to having 30 days clean. And I got me a sponsor, right? Because they told me, get yourself, look for a sponsor. And back in those days where I come from, they didn't talk nice. Yeah, they didn't talk nice like, you know, like help can't tell help how to help. Back in those days, they would just use bad profanity. One guy walked up to me. I was sitting in the front because I had the audacity. You know, I'm from the streets, and we got that street mentality. And every time you guys threw up a topic or anything, my hand would go up. My hand would go up before you threw the topic out. It would be like change. I said, oh, wait a minute, change? Honesty, my hand would go right up. Old timer got up. After the meeting, he came around, came up to the front. He said, Tito, check this out. Like, if we want to get high, we'll effing ask you. Let us show you how the program of Narcotics Anonymous works. So just shut the F up. Right away, I was like, I got up, I went to my spot. I said, who the hell he think he is? Did you hear him? That's my sponsor. I had two choices. Either I sat back down in my chair or I went back out and used. I didn't want to go back to where I came from. So I sat down. And the gentleman who was sponsoring me, he said, starting tomorrow, Tito, you're the coffee maker. I'm saying, the what? He said, you're the coffee maker. I said, looked around the room, I said, I'm making no coffee for all these people. I don't even drink coffee. Sponsors. Listen, let me tell you something. If you don't think you got the best sponsor in Narcotics Anonymous, you might want to take a look at that. Right? My sponsor said to me, he said, Tito, there's a lot of recovery in that coffee pot. Being the smart ass that I am, I went to the coffee pot. I looked in it. I looked at him. I looked in it. I said, come on, man. There ain't nothing but coffee in there. He said, meet me here at 5:30 tomorrow. More, I'll show you how to make the coffee and all that. I didn't want to go back to where I came from. So I was there. He showed me how to make the coffee. He showed me what I had to do. I thought they were crazy because they gave me the keys to the facility. And in the facility, they had the TVs and the computers and all that. I said, did you not hear my story? He said, here's the keys. I said, oh my God, these people got to be more crazy than me. But I wanted what they had. So he showed me, listen, I was the best coffee maker Narcotics Anonymous ever had. I used to come to the meeting early, set up the coffee, and because I'm Puerto Rican, right, I used to make the Café Bustelo, the Spanish coffee. Everybody in the meeting be like, who made the coffee? Tito did. I had a towel in my back pocket, you know, I had the cookies all set up and everything. Right? You know how addicts are when they go to the coffee pot? They're real messy. They don't clean up after themselves. I would come with my towel. Yo, Papa, what's up? You live like that at home? And then my sponsor said to me, he said, T, listen, it's time to get busy. I need you to buy the basic text. I said, what's the basic text? He said, that blue book that's on the table right there? I said, yeah. He said, you need to buy that book. Back in those days, it was like 5 something. Yeah, everybody, it's expensive now, right? Yeah. Right? I still got my second edition. Right? So I said, okay. So I went home. And I told my wife, I said, listen, baby, those people at the meeting, they want me to get this book. You got to give me the money so I can buy the book. She said, no. I said, come on, baby, stop fooling around. You got to give me the money so I can get the book. She said, no. You see, I had forgotten. The last time she gave me money to go to the bodega to get the gallon of milk, I came back 3 weeks later. She didn't forget. She said, I'm going with you. I'm going to buy the book. So she went with me, and we bought the book, and my sponsor said, okay, now it's time to get busy. I said, yeah, and I was excited because I seen what was going on. I heard the sharing and everything, the transformation that has taken place in these addicts' lives, and I want that too, right? So he said, I want you to go home, and I want you to start at the very first page of the basic text. And I was excited, and I went home. And back in those days, like we didn't have cell phones, right? We had the dial line, and we had the beepers and all that, right? And I was so excited, and I went home, and I opened up the book, right? And I got on the phone and I called my sponsor up and I looked at the book. He said, hey, T, what's going on? Everything okay? And I go, yeah, sponsor. I just have a question for you. He said, what's the problem? I said, you did say to start at the very first page of the basic text, right? And he said, yeah, what's the problem? I go, hey, sponsor, there ain't shit on that page. He said, exactly. That's how much you know about recovery. He said, let's get busy. See, I had no clue. I had no clue that the steps were going to start a transformation in my life that was going to take me from the person I used to be to the person God always intended me to be. The transformation. I'm not talking about the transformation from the outside in. I'm talking about the transformation from the inside out. That when I share, my outside starts to match my inside. Right? I had no clue about that. I had no clue that I would come to believe in a power greater than myself. I had no clue about a fourth step. That the fourth step would take me back to my past so I can live in the present. I had no clue about character defects. My sponsor said, boy, you need to get a dictionary. I said, why, Spons? He said, because you got your own interpretation of what these words mean. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for sponsorship. For him guiding me in my recovery and all that. You see, I didn't get the opportunity for a lot of stuff. And I kept working the program, and the transformation started to take place. I got a job that I was able to keep. Right? I got 33 years. Right? I've been at my job for 28 years. Right? You know how they say we start at the bottom and now we're here? I'm talking about an addict that come from shooting dope and smoking crack. That started at the bottom to being a supervisor at a job. They're being promoted from the supervisor to being a manager at the job. Listen, without a degree. And that's because of Narcotics Anonymous. Because I'm reliable today. But I had no clue that the work that I was doing in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, because you guys kept telling me, right? Like it's easy to practice these spiritual principles with recovering addicts in the room. You know how we get into a fight with each other? Right? We'll cuss each other out. 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, we hugging each other. You know I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. Can you practice these principles at home? When your wife or your husband says something to you out the side of their neck, and you come out of the side of your neck. And it used to take me weeks to make amends. As soon soon as I say something out the side of my neck, the men's come, you know you shouldn't have said that. You know that was wrong. So it started to work in my house. And my kids started to grow up. And I sent my daughter to college. I sent her to college in Florida. And she was in Florida, and one day I got a phone call. She was hysterical, crying. Daddy, I got to drop out of school. And being the addict that I am, because they say the apple don't fall too far from the tree, right? My first reaction and thought was, oh, Mama, please tell me you're not getting high. She said, no, Daddy, no. But I got to drop out of school. I'm pregnant. I said, no, Mama. I said, that's not what we're going to do. I said, what we're going to do, I said, you're going to have your baby. I said, when you have your baby, I'm going to come from Connecticut. I'm going to pick the baby up. I'm going to bring the baby back to Connecticut, and you're going to finish your schooling. See, I had no clue. I had no clue that God was already preparing me for that, what the drugs had robbed me from. I had no clue. She gave birth to a baby boy. I drove all the way to Florida and I picked up the baby boy and brought him back to Connecticut. And I started raising, listen, that what the drugs robbed me, God and Narcotics Anonymous gave me back. I saw the baby boy take his first step. I started changing Pampers. I started feeding him. I heard him say, Dad. And I was raising him. And the years started going by. And one day, she gave me a call. She said, Daddy, I'm ready to come home. The boy's 5 years old. I said, Mama, I didn't know it'd take that long to get all them things behind your name. See? But I didn't know what was happening. That God was giving me a gift. And my grandson, and then I took him to all his football games, or his baseball games, or his basketball games. That the drugs robbed me, God and Narcotics Anonymous gave right back to me. And I was that parent, right? I would be at the games, right? Because I didn't know how good my grandson was. And he was a great football player. And I would be at the games, right? Cheering him on. And I would be that parent that I couldn't sit in the stand and just sit there and go, yeah. No, I was standing up screaming and yelling, you know that proud father, right? And everybody knew who I was. And we went from junior high school, we went to high school. And as a freshman, he started varsity football. He played at varsity. And I was that grandfather that I went to every single game. I went to all his practices. I went to everything. The parents of the players knew me. And he went to the school in Trumbull, Connecticut, right? He was the only minority on the football team. And I was just happy. I was just happy to be present. I had no clue how good he was. I just showed up all the time. At every game. Even the coaches knew me. The mothers of the other boys knew who I was. And then the pandemic hit. Shut everything down. I said, oh my God. So what are we going to do now? So he lost a year of school. And when he came back in the 11th grade, he went right back to playing football. And I went right back to the stands. And I went right back to the practices. I went back to being the papa that I was supposed to be a long time ago. And I showed up at all the games. And he went to the 12th grade. And we made the playoffs. We almost won the state champion, right? And one day I'm sitting at home and I get a phone call. And the coach says, Tito, congratulations. I'm I'm like, congratulations? Congratulations for what? I didn't do nothing. He says, oh, you didn't hear the news? I go, no. He said, oh, your grandson made the Walter Payton list. Listen, I wish I could have reacted that way too. Right? I said, oh, he did. I said, okay. I went to the meeting. I said, my name is Tito and I'm an addict. Could somebody please tell me what the hell the Walter Payton list is? And they explained it to me. He says, Tito, your grandson is the best at his position in the state of Connecticut. I was like, wow. And then I started getting phone calls from colleges. I was like, a war, what this program can do. Miracle. A kid that started using at 8 years old from the South Bronx, being able to raise a family. Being able to pour everything that you guys poured into me, I poured into my family. And he got an invitation to Tennessee. He got an invitation to West Virginia. He got an invitation to Virginia Tech. And we went to see all these schools. And my sponsor said, Tito, you have to stay out of it. I said, what do you mean? You have to stay out of it. You have to let him make the choice. Right? And I was going, but you don't know. And he said, you're not the one. You got to back up. And I backed up. And finally, after like 3 weeks, my grandson came to me and said, Papa, I made my choice. And I said, what is it? He says, I want to go to Virginia Tech. And that's where my grandson is at now. But God wasn't done. God wasn't done with the miracles. My daughter had another baby. Had a baby girl. That what the drugs robbed me, God and Narcotics Anonymous gave me back again. I was able to change Pampers. I was able to see her take her first step. I was able to hear her say, Dada. I was able to raise her, watch her grow up and everything. And at 3 years old, I remember this one time, right? She's walking down the hall. 3 years old. You know how the little girls are. And she's walking down the hall, and I start crying. I get an attitude of gratitude, and I start crying. And she walking, she said, Papa, I love you, right? And she turned around, and she see me crying, and she runs back into my arm. And I pick her up, and she's wiping the tears out of my eyes, and she said, Papa, why are you crying? I had no words. Right then and there, I knew how lucky I was. I knew that I was a miracle. I knew that God had graced me. I was so grateful to this program for what it has done for my life, the transformation that has taken place in my life. See? But I want to share with you about my hero. I want to share about my mother. Just when the pandemic hit, my mother got sick. She ended up in the hospital. And at that time, they wasn't letting nobody into the hospitals. My mother suffered from dementia and Alzheimer's. And my mother would not recognize no one except me. She would call me up and said, Mijito, you need to come to the house. There's a stranger in my house. And I was like, Mom, where's Pops? I don't know, but there's a strange man in my house. And I go, Mom, could you please give the phone to the strange man? And it was my father. My sister would walk in the house. She wouldn't know who my sister was. My grandkids would walk. She didn't know. I would walk in the house and she would light up. And she would call me by my name. And she got real sick. We had to put Pampers on her. I would bathe my mother. She got real bad. She ended up in the hospital. And they wouldn't let nobody in the hospital but me. And I would leave my job. I would go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning. I would leave my job at 3:30. I get to the hospital by 4 o'clock. I would be in the hospital from 4 to 1 o'clock in the morning. Every day. Every day I would be holding her hands and tell her how much I love her. How much she means to me. She would squeeze my hand. And I remember on November 14th, I was in the hospital with her. And she had me by my hand. And I was telling her, Mommy, it's okay, Mommy. It's okay. I'm going to be okay, Mommy. And she squeezed my hand and she turned around and she looked at me. And she said, Mijito, my son, do me a favor. I said, yeah, Mommy, what? She said, please tell those people. I go, Mommy, what people? You know those people at the meeting. I go, yeah, Mommy. She said, please tell them I said thank you. I said, Mommy, but thank you for what? She said, please tell them I said thank you for giving me my son back. That's how powerful the program of Narcotics Anonymous is. Even in her dying moment, she thought about you guys. On November 15 at 5:15 in the morning, I got the phone call that she had passed away. She was my hero. She was the one who would get me out of jail when nobody else would. She was the one who believed in me. She was the one who prayed for me. I am truly a miracle. We all are miracles. Narcotics Anonymous doesn't only have the power to save lives, but it has the power to change lives.
Amen.
Just take a look at where you was at and where you at now. The change, the transformation that has taken place in our lives. Newcomers, right? Because we don't know who's a newcomer in Narcotics Anonymous. You don't know how much clean time anybody has sitting in this room right now. Is there anyone in here with 6 months or less clean time? Could you please stand up? Old timers, right? Don't be a sometimer or I don't know timer, right? These are the most important people in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. Because we can only keep what we have by giving it away. I know what it is to be a newcomer in a room full of strangers. I know what it is to sit here and know whether I belong or not. I know what it is to sit in a room and say, this ain't going to work for me. I know what it is to have 30 days clean and think that you're not going to make it. Narcotics works for everybody. The disease of addiction doesn't discriminate. Neither do we in Narcotics Anonymous.
That's right.
Right. We have all backgrounds. We speak all different languages. But in Narcotics Anonymous, the language is the same. Our message is the same. It's a real simple message. It's not a complicated message. It's a message that an addict, any addict, check that out, any addict, the tall addict, the short addict, the fat addict, the skinny addict, black addict, white addict, Hispanic addict, can lose the desire to use drugs, right? And find a new way to live. We don't care where you're from. We don't care how much or how little you have. We don't even give a damn about who your connections were. We don't care whether you slept on the Park Avenue or Park Bench. We just care about what you want to do about your problems and how we can help.
Yeah.
See. It's tough when you come into a room, Narcotics Anonymous, and truly, these people want to help you. You be like, oh, they want something. They want something in return. The disease of addiction, man. Cunning enemy of life. I remember those times, man. I remember those times saying yes when I really wanted to say no. I remember those times. Listen, I don't know if anybody else did this, like at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? When paranoia sets in, right? You go to the window, the Venetian blind. Yo, Flacco, come here. See that guy in the tree? Or at 4 o'clock in the morning, when you've been smoking all night long, and you saw you drop something, and you go on carpet patrol. Anything that's white goes in the pipe. Oh, but when you've been smoking all night long, and you've been in the living room, and you swore you stashed something, and you tearing the kitchen apart, but you never left the living room. Those times. Listen, the disease, man. I remember one time that I wanted to use real bad. And I was home by myself. My wife went to go visit her family, but I had no money. I was broke, disgusted, and couldn't be trusted. And I'm sitting there, and the disease said, "Yo, Papa, I got you." I'm like, "You got me? I ain't got no money. What am I gonna do?" I said, "Papa, see in the corner over there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "That TV looks good." I said, "You crazy?" I said, "How the hell am I going to tell my wife?" He said, "Papa, I got you." Sound like a great idea, didn't it? At the time that I wanted to use. So I went to the corner. I unplugged the TV. And back in those days, there was no flat screen TVs. You know there was no flat screen TVs. Them goddamn things weighed a ton. But I wanted to use. I unplugged it, wrapped it up, put it on my shoulder. Listen, where I lived, the crack house was down the street. Put it on my shoulder and I walked down the street. I went to the crack house. I sold it. Got high. Now I'm walking back up from the crack house and I'm like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? What the hell am I going to tell my wife? I said, Papa, I got you. I told you that. Get into the house. I said, damn, I'm really screwed now. Now they're going to really put me out. No, I said, no, Papa, I got you. He said, this is what we're going to do. You're going to break the window. When she come home, you're going to tell her you got home and somebody broke in the house and stole the TV. I said, damn, sound like a good idea to me. She came home. I said, baby, you're not going to believe this. I come home, the TV is gone, the window was broken. You know, she's standing there, she said, oh yeah? Okay, yeah, no kidding, for real? Yeah. You see, they knew my wife in the facility, around the block. She threatened all the drug dealers. She said, y'all better not sell nothing to my husband or I'm coming after y'all. Well, on her way home, when she got out the car, the drug dealer told her that I sold him the TV. I didn't know that though. So I'm lying, I'm telling the story like, you know, all the way, and she's looking at me, and she said, you need to stop. I go, what you mean, babe? She said, they done told me already that you sold TV to them. They bringing it up now. I said, oh my God. See, the disease of addiction, boy, is crazy. Listen, at the end of my road, I was in a closet. Literally, in a closet. Right? Smoking all night long. I don't know if anybody can identify with this. Taking a couple of hits, all of a sudden the shirt comes off. Taking a couple of more hits, all of a sudden the pants come off. Taking a couple more hits, all of a sudden the socks and the sneakers come off. By the time I'm done, I'm butt naked. Sweating profusely. Smoking out of a Budweiser can. And I hear a noise. And I go in the closet. And I close the door. And I'm in the closet like this. And my wife comes in and she hears some noise in the closet. And she opens the closet door and I close it. And she opens the door again and I close it. And she said, what the hell is wrong with you? I go, shh, they coming for me. I'm talking about at the end of the road. You know, it's amazing how we can laugh about things like that. Now, that shit wasn't funny back then. Especially when you ran out of money and ran out of drugs. Or when you tried to cop and it was on a Sunday. You know on Sunday nobody be out. Not even the drug dealers. And you on empty. And you looking. For anybody, everybody, and you sick. I'm talking about at the end of the road, man. At the end of the road, I was digging in garbage cans. I was weighing 96 pounds. Like my cheeks were sucked in like this. And I would look in the mirror and say, Coño, papi, you got it going on. And I was dying. Didn't even know it. That's how cunning and powerful this disease is. But I'm so grateful, man. I'm so grateful to the program. I'm so grateful to the 12 steps and the 12 traditions of Narcotics Anonymous. The steps that target a transformation in my life. I had no clue. I found some stuff out about myself. Right? Like let me read this to you. This is coming out of the spiritual principle a day. Right? But this part here is coming out of The Living Clean, chapter 1. Keys to Freedom. It says, when we stop using, we eliminate the most absurd symptom of the disease and the source of many of our problems. Abstinence alone, however, is seldom enough to straighten out our thinking. Even after drugs are gone, our outlook, priorities, and personalities remain disordered. If we want to be free from all aspects of the disease, it would take some work. So you can't be in a 12-step program and not do no 12 steps. If you just want to start using drugs, welcome to Narcotics Anonymous. If you want to find a boyfriend, welcome to Narcotics Anonymous. If you want to find a girlfriend, welcome to Narcotics Anonymous. You'll find all you want in Narcotics Anonymous, but abstinence doesn't equal recovery. You're just going to be clean and crazy. I just don't know how people be like, well, I got 5 years clean and I haven't worked no steps yet. I'd be like, what the hell you been doing for 5 years? People be like, I got 15 years clean and I'm on step 1. I'm like, oh shit. You're a dangerous person. In the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. So newcomer, get yourself a sponsor. If you don't know what a sponsor is, we have IPs that'll tell you what a sponsor is. That's that orange one. IP 11. 11 that tells you what a sponsor is, what their responsibility is, and what your responsibility is, right? Don't worry about all that stuff that you hear people in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. Get a sponsor, when you don't even know what the hell a sponsor is. See, listen for a sponsor. Watch a sponsor. Pay attention. You want somebody that's reasonably be happy? You don't want somebody that's miserable? You want somebody that has worked the 12 steps and the 12 traditions of Narcotics Anonymous? You want somebody that's going to guide you in this program? Just, if you have somebody in mind or you've been just watch them. Listen to them. Because like I said, you'll find everything and anything you want in Narcotics Anonymous. Everybody's not sponsorship material. The ego runs rampant in Narcotics Anonymous. I know. I've been there. I have 15 sponsees with 2 years clean. I thought I was all that in a bag of chips. I thought I was Mr. N.A. My sponsor said to me one day, he said, listen, how many sponsors you got? I I got 15 sponsors. No, how many sponsors do you have? I said, sponsors. I got 15 sponsors. No, you must not be understanding the question. How many people are you actually sponsoring? Out of those 15 guys, how many of them are actually doing the work? I said, what do you mean? How many of them are you guiding through the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous? How many of them are actually calling you on a regular basis, right? Because we tend to have a sponsor in name only. Sometimes we'll ask somebody that's popular in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous to sponsor us, but we don't even call them. When somebody asks you got a sponsor, oh yeah, Tito's my sponsor. And I told him, I said, listen, 7 of them, I'm taking through the steps. They call me regularly. He says, you need to get rid of the other 7, the other 8. I go, what do you mean I need to get rid of the other 8? He said, you don't sponsor them. You tell them that they have to find somebody else, that it's not working out. This is about life and death. The time that you're taking to spend with them, you can actually give it to the people who really want it. So I don't have 15 sponsors that are not doing work. My sponsor will tell you, if you ask me to sponsor you, there's some stuff that you got to do. You got to call me regularly. Like you ain't going to sit around Narcotics Anonymous and get 10 years and be on step 1. These spiritual principles change your life. A lot of people say that the steps are for me to get better. The traditions are so I don't kill somebody in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. But the steps and the traditions, I take them outside the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I apply them in all areas of my life. Like we got the 7th tradition, right? Money. I just don't practice that traditions in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I practice that tradition at home. Group conscious in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I practice it at home. Every now and then we got to have a group conscious. Like when I got the phone call to come up here. We had to have a group conscious. Hey babe, is it all right? Got anything planned? Because in my early recovery, I just took off. I just left. Went to the meetings, went to the conventions, went everything. My sponsor said to me, he said, Tito, let me ask you something. What's the difference? Besides that you're not using drugs. But you're doing the same thing that when you was using drugs. You ain't never home. You don't spend time with your family. You don't. And I said, oh, wow. See? So now I have a group conscience whenever I go anywhere. Because it's important. Because I tell you, my wife, listen, she, no joke, she came to the meetings for 2 years straight. And she ain't an addict. She came to every single meeting. She wanted to make sure that I was okay. And then one day I invited her to the meeting and she said, no, you're all right. You're good with those people over there. They got you. See? So I'm so grateful, man. And you know, we need to be a little more loving and caring to our predecessors. You know, those addicts. Those addicts that saw enough about us to keep the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous open. Those addicts that showed up right? And made the coffee and all that. Those addicts that told us, don't worry about it, sit up in the front. Those addicts that loved us in spite of us. Those addicts that took us out to the diner when we had no money because we were new. And they say, you hungry? And you know how you are when you're a newcomer. Your stomach growling. You say, no, I'm okay. We didn't ask you if you was okay. We asked you to order something. Those addicts. Those addicts who loved on us. Those addicts who were standing at the door when you walked in and they remembered your name. Those addicts that gave you a hug, not a burp. You know, you know how when somebody hugs you, they like. Those addicts who gave us real Narcotics Anonymous hugs. Those addicts who used to tell us, we love you, and they meant it. Those addicts who didn't want anything from us but to stay clean. Our predecessors, the ones who showed us how to work the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, the ones who told us and showed us about the program, how it works. They didn't only tell us, but they led by examples. They were the power of the program. Those addicts. I'm so grateful to my predecessor. So I'm going to shut it down with this story. It's about an addict. He got stuck in a ditch and he couldn't get out. This priest walked by. The addict in the hole looked up at the father and said, Father, I'm stuck in this hole and I can't get out. Could you please help me? So the father threw the Bible down. The addict desperately wanted to get out of the hole. He reads the Bible from cover to cover, but he still can't get out of the hole. This lawyer walks by, and he's got his suit on and his briefcase and everything, and the gentleman in the hole, the addict in the hole, looks up and says, Sir, I'm stuck in the hole and I can't get out. Could you please help me? So the lawyer throws the legal books down at him. The addict wanted to get out of the hole. He starts reading the books from cover to cover, but he still can't find a way out of the hole. Recovering addicts walking by. Addict in the hole looks up and says, Sir, I'm stuck in the hole and I can't get out. Could you please help me? The recovering addict jumps in the hole. The addict in the hole looks at the recovering addict and says, Yo, bro, are you crazy? Now we both stuck in this hole. The recovering addict looks at him and says, Easy does it. I have the steps to get out. I'm a grateful recovering addict. My name is Tito.